On this momentous day, I sit here by myself and ponder upon the important questions of our human condition, such as what the nature of life is, or if a desire to make your mark on the world is not just living in avoidance of the fear of death. And also, wasn't Hygard about to be shut down tomorrow? You know, that miserable failure of a life service game that nobody ever played or cared for. You know, that disgusting disappointment that had it any parents, they would abandon it in a remote forest location somewhere in the far eastern reaches of Siberia. That game. I just tried to create that project and called it Hygard. Hygard is, or was, actually past tense. It's gone now, forever lost in digital obscurity. Goodbye, we won't miss you. It was a game with a lifespan of about 3 Concords, which I think is a reasonably comedic unit of measurement we should all be using for terribly mismanaged games from now on. For anyone asking cold hard numbers, that is a total of approximately 30 days. That is less time than it takes for the country of Germany to hypocritically reopen 5 coal power plants. I'm sorry, I know it's the first video. There's going to be a lot of smack talk on Germany in the future. It's somewhat of a national sport, you see. Complaining like a little bitch that is, and doing absolutely nothing productive to change the status quo whatsoever. Now that I think about it, actually, that may be a global sport at this point, but that's a rant I could make a whole video about, so I'm cutting it here. I have no time to talk about the state of the world. There are important video gamey things to be discussed, and we're almost out of time, for it is time for Hygard to enter the hall of shame of base drivel that nobody ever wanted or asked for. Dear Lord, it's already the dawn of the final day and I have no footage yet. What have I been doing with my time if not wasted on the digital battlefield of questionable historical categorization? I've watched my friends play Hygard with arrogant amusement and thought that I would never debase myself like them and sully my pristine NVMe drive with something so mundane and derivative. Well, that was until I had the idea that perhaps a video could be made from the misery of everyone involved in the creation of this utter failure. I beseech thee, delay thy course, don't close the game yet, I need footage for a 10-minute YouTube video that 2 people will watch. Don't go, Hygard, I need you for sweet, sweet content. Give me a chance to talk about what you are and why you probably suck, and I haven't even played a single match yet. It is now March 11th. 2026 at 9 PM glorious Middle European time, and I've thus far missed out on the singular opportunity to corrupt my pristine state of mind with yet another throwaway high-profile piece of digital waste. Alright, when do I have to get up for work? Okay, alright, sure, I'll play half a game of Hygard, drop out halfway, and maybe eat some fried chicken on the way to bed. What are they gonna do, ban me? Golly gee, I'm shaking my boots from the fear of not being able to play this game anymore that's scheduled to be delisted soon on all storefronts known to man. Well, now that we're here, past honey, what do you have to say about the absolute experience of Hygard that you're having right now in this very moment? And I want to sprint, thank you, it's the same in every goddamn game out there. We don't have time, it's gonna shut down tomorrow! It appears I can't shoot him in the face. Destruction room. Okay, cool. That's my favorite room in the world, actually. Yes, thank you very much. That'll be all, and that's 30 minutes of gameplay footage. Excellent. You may close down the service now, and maybe I'm not going to be sleep deprived tomorrow. Now, after playing a singular, spectacular round, I have to once again ask myself the question what the fork even Hygard is, as I may be coming out of the experience more confused than when I entered, as we have taken elements from famous games and strung them together with logic so haphazard it would put the most refined conspiracy theory to shame. Let me quickly go over all the pieces that make up this chimerical construct of a video game. Pieces you may be very familiar with after years of traveling the modern gaming landscape. Here you have base building elements like in Fortnite, different weapon types and rarities that you collect like Fortnite. Yeah, okay, I see where this is going. But it's not Fortnite, it's like a 3v3 or 5v5 team PvP game, and the loot you find across the map isn't shared between the players, then what the hell, I needed that shield! There's tower defense elements too, where it's like you have a base to defend and an enemy base to destroy. Like when you're attacking the enemy base in a MOBA, only that there's no lanes and no jungle, and it's nothing like that, and I'm jogging out of my ass right now, which is half of what the video is anyway, so I don't see why that would be a problem. So, do we have a problem? Yeah, I didn't think so. And then there's like a raid portion of each game session where you plant bombs that you have to defend like it's Counter-Strike. But then also there's characters with different abilities, passes, and ultimates you can select from like it's Overwatch or Marvel Rivals or Deadlock. God, why is there so many of them now? Let me recount to you the information my brain was able to process from half the game of Hygard I actually played, in which I ditched my team after 15 minutes. I couldn't be bothered to finish it for it was late and I was sleepy, and they probably stink eggs anyway. But that is secondary or even tertiary to the story I have to tell, which is devoid of any actual objective fact or even reasonably useful information. So yeah, thanks for being here. Looks like I wasted all of our precious lifetime and therefore needlessly advanced the energy decay of the universe. Back here on Earth, however, in the game of Hygard, you start in your little Fortnite wall base, of which you may reinforce with the material you can gather to make it slightly harder for enemies to break into it. You now have some time to prepare yourself for the inevitable fighting that is to occur as you ride across the map looking for treasure chests with armor and better weapons in them. Mining methamphetamine, of which you may exchange at your local dealer for more armor or weapons, or maybe breach charges to crack some enemy walls open conveniently. You can use your melee weapon to do that too. It takes a while, not very efficient, but it can be done. Thought I'd mention that here. Or maybe buy yourself a couple of bottles of whiskey, you know, something to take the edge off the utter confusion you're experiencing. Little later, a big-ass sword spawns somewhere on the map, and everyone's shooting at each other to get their hands on a big sword. The individual who acquires the big sword must then ride to the enemy base, place it in the appropriate sword slot, and summon an astral siege engine to wreak bloody havoc on the soon defenseless stronghold. The appearance of this monument to human hubris will then allow you to invade the enemy base in search of strategic positions to blow the hell up. Positions on which bombs must be placed, which are available to all characters by default and must be protected to detonate successfully. Once all the strategically important points in the base have been blown up, the game will end in the attacker's victory. The game continues until one base has been explodified sufficiently, or I don't know actually, I didn't bother playing long enough to find out if there is a draw state. And that's the game! Everyone can go home now and participate in the various available microtransactions. Please give us your money. That was a unique experience, I'll give him that. But unique isn't really all that great when it's not also coming together in a fun and engaging way. To be real with you for a second though, I'm making it sound like the game is literal dog water and the absolutely most heinously criminal experience I have ever had the displeasure of making while gazing upon pixels on the screen, but it's not that bad in all honesty. It's just very unremarkable. It lacks overall polish, and it's not particularly visually interesting either. Okay then, it's a bit of a mess, but there's a lot of weird people playing a lot of weird fucking games out there, like League of Legends or Genshin Impact. Who would ever play that? And those are terrible in their own way, maybe even more terrible than this. So what's the deal, really? Why'd we have to toss the whole project out the window within less than a month? So I'm not one of your big shot journalists, so I can't boast a wealth of insider information here, and there's a lot of third-hand accounts floating around out there, but here's what I understand. The project's primary financial backer was a subsidiary of Tencent, who finally pulled all funding when player counts of the game went on a steep downward trajectory and crashed through the center of the earth. Why'd that happen, you may ask? Well, bad management? I mean, yes, kind of. Was part of the problem, but there's never just one reason when things go this atrociously wrong. I know, everybody loves blaming dumbass management monkeys for every failed project, and I'm with you here, but listen, there's only so much a monkey can do. They all need other monkeys below them conducting all the mid-scale monkey business. And when the small monkeys tell all of the big monkeys that they're sitting on a lifetime supply of delicious bananas, when in reality, the whole tribe is about to starve, what actions are the big monkeys supposed to take? If it wasn't clear, managers are monkeys in this metaphor. I thought I had to clear it up to earn a little bit more vitriol from all the emotionally repressed management staff in the audience. But seriously though, when a massive project like this fails or a company goes bankrupt, it's an issue of shit rolling down the hill and shit bubbling up to the surface. So in this particular case, it was a lack of critical thinking and reflection that caused incorrect assumptions and information about the game to be bubbling up to upper management. It feels like everyone working on the project was either living in a shared delusional space, or company policy was so abnormally drenched in toxic positivity that even minor criticism was regarded unacceptable psychological abuse. So I can't tell if they actually believed these things or they were scared to say otherwise, but the information that made it up the chain was apparently that they had a generation-defining masterpiece on their hands, the likes of which would single-handedly dethrone genre murderous supergiants like Apex and Fortnite. Thing is, they did have a bunch of people on the team that had previously worked on Apex, but the same people do not the same project make. It's a collaborative effort, and if you're not taking the entire development and production team, including management, workflows, and company culture, and transplant them to a new project, it's not going to work. And even then, it may end up falling flat on its face. It's good for marketing, at least, gets people talking about the product. But even then, you would think that someone mayhaps would have realized that what they're sitting on was maybe not a literal gold mine, but more like a giant scrap heap. Except even the people who did the testing didn't uncover the information that would have actually been important to know to call the shots differently. Playtests that only happened under ideal conditions with coordinated teams who knew exactly what they were doing. Not a single time did anyone actually experience the game as the average player would experience it, with no organized team and no earthly idea what's going on. Which eventually led to the asinine decision to shadow drop the whole thing at the Game Awards. The big secret reveal to shock and awe the gullible masses. The big reveal trailer came out of nowhere, to which the audience went, okay. Honestly, I didn't even know what to think. I faintly remember the cover art being temporarily stored within the crevices of my short-term memory, only to be ejected out the back seconds later. There wasn't anything remarkable, magical, or memorable about what my eyes were beholding, an experience shared by the largest portion of the viewership, no doubt. The collective conclusion then drawn being that we just don't care. Thanks, glad you came by. Now take your loveless piece of life service slop and kindly fuck off. Too bad bros were already in too deep to pull out anymore, so despite vaguely cheeks temperature reception, the release was inevitable. Too much money had already been dumped into development, publishing, and marketing, so scrapping the whole thing and admitting defeat wasn't an option anymore. Smash cut to January 26th for the grand release of Hygard. But again, nobody cares, so yeah, cool, when Slay the Spire coming out? The game was finally available to play for absolutely free, no barrier to entry, nothing, just jump on whenever you want. Don't be shy to bring the whole of your toxicity to bear upon the world. Don't pretend like you don't already know that what you're not paying in money, you'll be trading in part of your soul for. And despite the powerful draw of absolutely no investment required, players arrived only to then immediately turn tail and leave in droves. I mean, starting off with 100k players is cool, but it's very quickly much less cool when that player count graph takes a literal nosedive and never recovers. God, I wish I had a cool story to tell to regale you with and elicit emotions of awe and wonder and be a glorious YouTube orator, but alas, the game sucks ass. And that isn't just an equally profane and poetic adage to the story, it really just wasn't good at all. Common complaints range from maps too big, over gameplay too bland, to too many disjointed gameplay elements. See, I'm not the only one, and it's not because I'm bad at clicking on heads, which is true, but unrelated to the game's overall suckage, which is to be expected in a world already oversaturated with shooters, many of which are godlike divine beings sitting at the top of the video game industry unchallenged. Are you really throwing your game in the world where Fortnite has been going strong for... Wait, wow, can't wait for the 10-year anniversary skin series for $200 each. Overwatch, that has been making a slow comeback recently after shaving the accursed number 2 from its title. Deadlock, which has been taking the internet by storm, and you could have known that as it is common knowledge that Valve never misses. Marvel Rivals is still around, going strong player bases on both Apex and Valorant. Where do people get the time to invest in all that gamery? That is the world that you're dropping your new base building, team-based open-world shooter into, and you expect it to earn more than a passing glance from the eyes of gamers that are already glazed over from constant unrelenting overstimulation. People whose attention has been utterly consumed by the already existing arrays of daily quests, special events, battle passes, and competitive season rewards. People just didn't enjoy the experience enough to warrant staying and picking this game over the myriad of other similar items in their digital libraries. So obviously they ditched it, most within a day. This was partially due to a shared problem of pretty much all high-profile modern game releases, where they hit the market in a woefully incomplete state. Now, some games historically recovered from a rough start and unfinished release states, except for Hygard, it didn't just mean a temporary period of stagnant player retention, it meant instant total annihilation for the entire service. When you're Hygard and you spin the slot machine on the Game Awards Shadow Drop to have a huge immediate influx of players, it follows that on paper, when 99% of them leave a day later and never come back, the difference between your highest and current player count is going to look utterly atrocious. And with no knowledge of game development or even a spark of comprehension for long-term organic growth, which is a concept famously far too complex for a game publisher's feeble mind to ever truly comprehend, your backers are going to draw the inevitable conclusion that this project is dead on arrival. And when you're Mr. Big Mac Moneybags and all that's floating inside your brain case all the livelong day is numbers on your bank account, naturally, you don't give a single biscuit crumb and pull funding for the project immediately. That's basically what happened. No more financial backing, no more players, utter loss of trust for any potential investors, and the game was done. So, have we learned anything from this? Yeah, well, I wish, but probably not, and the next Hygard Concord disaster is just around the corner. I, for one, am verily amused to see another soulless AAA title fail miserably while gamers have been flocking to decidedly soulful indie titles instead. Though it challenges my ability to comprehend the workings of the world when you think about how we can burn literal millions of dollars on a game that nobody ever played. While there's people out there who can't afford housing or food and work soul-crushing 60-hour jobs to make ends meet. I don't know, maybe this is but one of the indicators that we have rebuilt the proverbial Tower of Babel and only divine wrath awaits us in the future. Anyway, that's all from me. See you later.